What's up guys, Intelitech Studios here, and today we're going to be doing the full review of the vacuum you see here in the center. The Bissell PowerLifter Swivel Pet Vacuum Cleaner. Now, this vacuum, as you can see, I own the two vacuums that are the closest to it in the Bissell lineup. This PowerLifter Swivel Pet obviously is notable for its swivel mechanism, which neither of these other machines have, and you can see both of these other two machines are more similar to each other than they are to this swivel, despite the fact that these two are in the same product stack with the same color scheme. These two are basically branded as if this is simply the bagged version of this, and it's even branded as if this one is superior to this one because it has the swivel neck. Well, I'm here to tell you that is not the case. This bagged PowerLifter Pet is a far better option than this swivel, as is this PowerForce Turbo Rewind Pet, which you can currently get for about $10 cheaper than this machine. This machine retails for $100 on Walmart's website, and you can find similar variants to this machine that are virtually identical in styling but have slightly different names and color schemes and attachments and model numbers, but otherwise are identical machines. Machines with this sort of body style design are sold under many different brands. This particular one is the one you can find at Walmart, the PowerLifter Swivel Pet. It's also sold under CleanView and PowerEase names, but they're overall the exact same machine, and this review is interchangeable for all of them because they all fundamentally work the exact same way. Now, you can tell I'm not very enthusiastic about this review, and that's for a few reasons that I'm going to get into. First off, a very tiny little point. Why is the full line so low on this thing? I don't know why that is. The fill line is obviously up here, where the cyclone starts. Like, it obviously has a pretty decent capacity, but for some reason Bissell is shooting themselves in the foot by recommending that people dump it here, which is nothing. That's nothing. That's no capacity at all. Even on the PowerForce, it's still a little bit weird, but you get about twice as much room before you hit the full line. Again, the full line is clearly supposed to be up here where the cyclone starts. This one obviously seems like it would be an upgrade over this one because it has a higher capacity. But who really cares, in all honesty? They both use the same filters. They both use the same hoses. They both use very similar setups as far as their overall design. Very similar release pedals, very similar power switches, very similar cords. The main thing is that this machine cost $100. This machine cost $90. Now, what do you get for $10 less? Well, you forego 5 feet of cord. You go from a 30-foot cord to a 25-foot cord. But you get a rewind, and you get a very high-quality rewind at that. This rewind is actually very nice and very confidence-inspiring. You actually get better filtration, believe it or not, because this actually has a washable exhaust filter. This doesn't. It just simply exhausts right out the side, no real filtration, just kind of there. There's probably a filter in here, very similar to the much cheaper, in fact, half the price of this PowerForce Helix, but you can't access it, and you can't wash it, unlike this machine, and very similar to this machine. Both of these have 30-foot cords. Both of these have wider brushes. You can tell it's pretty much the exact same brush, even if they are colored a little bit differently. Both have 5 height adjustments. Both have pretty decent capacities. Both have stretch hoses, 30-foot cords, nearly identical turbo brushes. They're obviously in the same product stack. Now, this machine I got for $82. It retails on Bissell's website for $150. Why, I don't know, but it does. But either way, I got mine for $82. You can get this for around $90. Just under $90. So cheaper than this. This, on the other hand, the filtration is much worse because it's bagless, and it also doesn't even have that filter, so the filtration is even worse than this. And here's the thing, it's much harder to push. These two machines are very nice to use. They're very lightweight, They're very easy to maneuver. You would think that this swivel neck would make all the difference. It does not. This machine is bulky to use. It's a little bit heavier than both these other machines, which is fine, but it's very bad at maneuverability. When it's on the highest setting, I cannot push it on this carpet very well. Whereas these other two machines, when they're on their high settings, they deal with my carpet just fine. In fact, again, the Power Force Helix, that's half the price of this, maneuvers just fine on this carpet. This does not. This vacuum has a squeegee on the bottom to help with bare floor pickup, and you can also see this is very bad at resisting scratches. Although, in its defense, our floor is very uneven. In fact, this wasn't primarily used at this house. I initially bought this vacuum for my boyfriend to use at his apartment, which is a one-bedroom apartment with nothing but wood flooring. At the time, he had a carpet, but our dog pissed on it, so we threw the carpet away and just had the floors, meaning this machine was primarily running on the bare floor setting, and on the bare floor setting with this spinning brush. Now, this spinning brush on bare floors is not a very good idea, because, again, this is $100, and it doesn't have any sort of brush roll shutoff. Now, granted, neither do either of these, but these are a little bit cheaper than this. So this has the least amount of excuse out of all three of these machines to not have a brush roll shutoff. There's no brush roll shutoff on this machine, meaning that whenever you're using it on floors, you are damaging your floors, especially if it's a wood or some sort of sensitive linoleum floor, and you also are damaging the brush roll over time because you're stretching out the belt and you are hitting the brush on a non-padded surface, which over time will stretch out the belt and possibly damage the bearings on the brush roll. I've said this in pretty much every video regarding a vacuum that doesn't have a brush roll shutoff. Why do I mention that? Because this is $100, and there are other vacuums that you can find for very close to this price point. For around $150, you can buy a refurbished Dyson DC-33. For around $150, you can sometimes find a refurbished Dyson Light Ball. Those both have brush roll shutoffs and would work much better on wood floors, or on any flooring in general. You could also find Sharks brand new for around $150, and you can find them used for around $100, if not cheaper. And all those have brush roll shutoff switches. They'll also have better filtration, but they'll have brush roll shutoff switches, meaning that for floors, there'll be much better options. But again, these two machines don't have as much to worry about in that regard because they're cheaper. They're not $100, and this one clearly prides itself at being the more premium option. This is one of the machines, again, in a similar color scheme that Bissell advertises all the time, and frankly, I think it's hurting their brand. Because I'm generally a big fan of Bissell products, especially considering they own the Bissell Pet Foundation, and the fact that they can donate a lot of the money that you spend on the machines towards getting pets homes. I really like that. However, this machine has been reviewed by many people, and we generally see the same trend with this machine. Technicians, vacuum repair technicians who review this machine are appalled by it and do not like it at all. And then reviewers, basic consumers, generally love it and are very big fans of it and are really happy with it. Where is the disconnect? Well, the disconnect derives from the fact that this machine has worse maneuverability than both these two machines. It has worse filtration. It does have a longer cord, but its performance on both carpets and hard floors is worse than these other two machines, despite it having the same triple action brush roll as this, meaning it should perform just as well on carpets, and it having the squeegee, which means that it should perform just as well on hard floors as this, and better than this that doesn't have a squeegee. Because squeegees do at least help it from kicking debris behind the vacuum. But on this machine, it still does okay. But that okay is very, very loose. And compared to many other machines on the market that have squeegees, but not brush roll shutoffs, it's not very good. So performance of this machine is not nearly as good as either of these other two machines, which doesn't make any sense, because this is more premium, it costs more, it has more features. Why would it not perform better, if not at least the same, than these other two machines? And I honestly don't have an answer for that, but it's clearly a common trend. So if you care about picking up stuff off your floors or carpets, this is the worst I'd recommend out of all three of these machines. Now, again, this is $100. This is $90. And you can get the version that's not the pet variant of this for around $80. And this one is also a little over $80, depending on where you can find it. So, what about the attachments? Well, obviously these two are in similar classes, so they have similar attachments, right? And that's true. Both of these machines have extension wands and crevice tools that are very similar to other machines. You can see, has a very basic extension wand, and it actually has a long crevice tool, which is actually nice. It has a much longer crevice tool. Compared to this other machine that's $10 less, this one has a much worse quality, shorter crevice tool. So you do get a better quality crevice tool. Now if you buy, there's a couple versions of this machine, again in different color schemes and names, that have different crevice tools, that have like pet special crevice tools, and those don't fit on board. So that's annoying. Also, this has the pet hair eraser tool, which is very similar to the one that comes on the bagged powerlifter, only it's about half the size. So it's not nearly as big of an attachment. So you get less surface area with it. Again, this is the more premium version, and it has a smaller attachment. And here's the thing. This bagged version, guess what it has? A dusting brush. What does this not have? It doesn't have a dusting brush. So you have to buy a dusting brush separately, and you can't store it on board unless you want, of course, to forfeit this onboard tool storage in order to put the dusting brush there. And you can tell it doesn't really fit on there quite nicely because it wasn't really designed to go on there. It's a little bit loose. So there's that. Where again, this machine has all those tools on board. And it doesn't have this little thing on board, but it does have this. It has this little pet hair corner tool, which works very well. And I think this is a lot more usable and useful than this, because this attracts a bunch of hair, a bunch of stuff to it, yet at the same time, it's very difficult to clean off. You have this little section where you can open this up and get to it, but it doesn't do a good job at self-cleaning, and cleaning it yourself is a hassle. So it's really not all that useful. It's about as useful as any other lint brush, only it has a vacuum attachment that doesn't really help at all. So this tool I don't really recommend. It's not a very good quality tool. It doesn't appear to be all that useful, even this larger one that's on the bagged version. But in the case of the bagged version, it doesn't really hurt to have it. But in this one, if you want it, you have to get rid of the dusting brush, because it doesn't include a dusting brush. Why? For $100 it doesn't include a dusting brush? I don't know. But it doesn't. Now you might be thinking, well, at least the turbo brush is there. So for upholstery's sake, you have the turbo brush. In fact, all three of these have the turbo brush. And they're all this pet variant of the turbo brush. Which means that this version of the turbo brush is called the Turbo Eraser Pet, and has these little rubber bristles, which are great, right? Because they help with preventing tangles. Well, here's a problem with that. This does work great if you don't put any pressure on it. If you put pressure on this, it does not work. Period. When you put pressure on it, when you're on upholstery, it stops. The suction on this machine is not strong enough to drive this turbo tool. Now, at some point, I'll actually do a comparison video between all the different types of turbo tools, at least all the ones that I have from Bissell. And I'll test it with one of the older Bissells that have 12 amps, because those ones have more power and more suction to be able to drive these brushes. So I can actually confirm, is it the turbo brushes themselves that are poorer quality than they used to be, because Bissell turbo brushes used to work very, very well. And the one on my Bissell Clean View, the one on my 9595, works very well. It's a very good quality turbo brush. This one, not so much. Is that just a discrepancy between the amperage of the motors, or is it the actual turbo brush itself that's not doing well? That I haven't tested yet, but this turbo brush does not work very well on any of these machines, and that's my biggest complaint with any of these machines. But on the PowerLifter, it's not a big deal, or on the bag version I should say, it's not a big deal because you still have the same dusting upholstery brush that you get with all the other Bissells. So you can pretty much get away with ignoring this tool altogether, and you still have a pretty decent vacuum for the price. This, again, they took away the dusting brush, so you really can't. You do not have a tool on this machine that does a good job at either dusting or doing upholstery. You just don't. And that's very unfortunate. So again, this is easy to maintain, though, on the bright side. You just flip this little collar. Just turn this. It's hard to do with one hand, but you just turn this, just like that, and this top part pops off, and you can get to it. And you're going to have to, because the anti-tangle aspect of this is irrelevant. It does tangle. And it tangles about the same as a standard turbo brush that doesn't have these little rubber fingers on it. Like the one with the PowerForce Helix Turbo and Helix Turbo Rewind, not the pet version, but the non-pet versions. The turbo brushes work about the same in terms of the resistance of hair tangles. But those turbo brushes aren't nearly as bad at stopping whenever you hit any sort of upholstery. And I'm not pressing super hard. It's just hard enough to actually make contact so the little rubber fingers can, in theory, dig into the upholstery and pull the hair out. Right? Isn't that the whole idea? It's not really all that workable, I should say. You'd see the do stick out. So again, if this thing was able to keep its speed, if this thing was motorized, it would probably work beautifully. But in its current state, it doesn't work all that well. What's next? So, here's another thing. Another reason why, again, I sing the praises of the bagged unit. So this is not a brand-specific issue. It's a machine-specific issue. Because again, I've been singing the praises of this bagged unit ever since it came out. And I will continue to in the full review of this. Because for pets, bags are the way to go, especially for these cheaper machines. Because you can fill it up with as much hair as you want, and you throw out the bag and you're done. None of that crap gets in the filter. This, very, very bad with filtration. Even worse than this machine. I don't know how that's possible, but it is. It's probably due to the fact that this has a larger capacity dirt container. Meaning that if you follow the logic that you should of you clean the filter every time you fill up the bin, that means this filter is getting dirtier because the bin took longer to fill up. That's probably what's happening here. And again, if I take this off, both of these two machines come with Febreze filters, meaning that it comes with a standard charcoal filter that comes in the top of the dirt container, and then in the box when you buy these both brand new, they come with an extra Febreze filter. This one for some reason is black, and this Febreze filter for some reason is yellow. I don't know why that is, but that's just a little something that I noticed. Whenever you open this, you can see there's the filter right here. It's the same filter that the PowerForce Helix, the new style, and all of these Bissells use. It's all the same filter. And the Febreze aspect of this filter is very, very nice. It's nice that it has the Febreze function, and it does last for a decently long time. It starts off pretty strong, but it does eventually go away until you wash it again. And obviously, as you wash it more and more, the scent gets washed out of it. But again, the Febreze filter is a nice touch, although I would rather have Febreze bags, personally. But if you have pets, and you're vacuuming up pet hair all the time from a dog and 3 cats, this filter is not going to last long. Again, this is the pet variant. They are advertising this as a pet variant. So again, using it in a one-bedroom apartment, barely any square footage, Doesn't even have a full-size living room, full-size kitchen, no closet space at all. 1-bedroom apartment with a dog and 3 cats. No carpets. So there's no dirt that's getting stuck in the carpets. It's just what's sitting on the floors and on the furniture. You fill the bin up once on this thing, and the filter is completely plugged with hair. Completely. This separator does not do its job. And again, that isn't as big of an issue on this machine. Because I test this machine in a larger house. 2 different houses that have multiple animals, multiple dogs, multiple other animals, and lots of carpet. You would think this would do a lot worse in this machine because it has a much tougher task to deal with. Nope, this filter wasn't all that bad after I did the job. This bin was completely overfilled, and the filter wasn't that bad. It was pretty dusty, there was a little bit of hair on it, but not, honestly, an alarming amount. This machine was caked with hair. When you opened this up, there was so much hair in here that you can't even tell there's a filter there. It's just a ball of hair. And then there's also a bunch of hair that's stuck around this section, and it all had to be completely pulled apart and washed out. So again, not a good look. One thing that's nice about this one compared to this machine, and also this machine, it has a suction indicator. So it'll actually tell you whenever the suction is waning in the machine. And the thing I will give it credit for is that even when that filter was completely plugged up with crap, it still had suction. So that is definitely good. So if you don't care about it getting dirty and you just want it to work, which most people are unfortunately like that, it's not really going to let you down as much as you would think. Also, another weird thing is that for some reason, this machine has a round opening for the cyclone assembly entrance. This one has this weird D-shaped opening. Not sure why that is. Doesn't really appear to hurt anything from what I can tell. It's just a weird thing they changed. It looks more like a Dyson now for some reason. They've also got these little like etched, frosted bits in the bin, which is a nice touch. It looks kind of nice. I like the aesthetic of it. This is a very nice looking machine considering what it is. Although I prefer the color scheme on this. I prefer the turquoisey blue. Although the purple I really like. So if they can make one that's like the turquoisey blue with the purple or the orange from that 1700 as an accent color, that'd be really nice. As far as my ideal color scheme, if I am going to pick the colors on one of these. So again, not a lot of good things I've been saying about this machine. This poor machine has probably taken enough abuse. But a couple other comments real quick before I run this thing. So it's got this little hose down here, which seems to work fine. It's very stretchable, obviously, to get with the swivel neck aspect of it. It seems to work fine. I'm wondering if because this is flexible, I'm hoping that this will age a lot better than the other types of hoses on these machines, but I don't expect there to be much of a difference. Again, Bissell hoses are generally really good about not splitting. That's one thing I will give Bissell credit for in all these machines, is these hoses rarely ever split. I've seen Shark, Dyson, all sorts of other brands, Hoover, where their hoses have split over time. Bissell vacuums are relatively impervious to it, and I've gotten many Bissell vacuums over the years, and very rarely do I see a split hose. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen it, honestly. At least not that I can remember. I'm sure it's probably happened at some point. In fact, it probably has now that I think about it, but it's so infrequent that you don't have to worry about it too much. So you're not going to have to worry much about these hoses splitting. The issue you're going to have with this machine, as far as wear and tear, is the brush roll is going to go bad, the bearings are probably going to go bad, and you're going to have to replace the brush roll and the belt. So this uses the same Style 7 belts that every other Bissell pretty much uses. And also another thing that you may have to deal with is motor failure, because a lot of these vacuums have motor failure, especially the bagless ones. Now I'm hoping that this machine will be impervious to it like many of the other ones. I've yet to see many of these with dead motors. I more so see the Clean View line nowadays that have dying motors. But the power forces nowadays are relatively impervious to it. I've yet to see a new style power force that has the bearings go bad because of misuse. But again, that's just what I've seen. So obviously these machines are newer, so they don't have as much of an opportunity to go bad. But that is one thing, is that if you're super rough with it, the machine may eventually get loud because the bearings may be rubbing. Now, I've had people complain about me making videos that were too long, and this video is pretty long at this point. So we're just going to go ahead and give this thing a run, and you can see exactly how it works. Another complaint I have, in fact, this was the first thing that I noticed when I unboxed this thing, is this handle. You can see the main portion of the vacuum is not moving all that much, but this handle is bending all over the place. This handle feels awful. You can see there is a seam issue with the handle where it's not seamless. The handles on both of these machines are incredibly sturdy. Both these machines have incredibly sturdy handles. You're not going to worry about those breaking. They feel very solid. This one feels horrible. It's a very horrible feeling handle. Usually the reason they do this little bit down here is to reinforce the handle so it's more durable. It feels awful, and I can't imagine how bad it would feel without that in addition. But it just doesn't feel very good. It feels worse than, again, it feels worse than the $54 Power Force Helix that has the same handle as all these. And again, these handles feel great. Very solid, very robust, not going anywhere. Never seen one of these handles break. This is pathetic. Also, the cord clip is worse because it's just this little slot. There's not a lot to it. It still gets the job done, but if you're vacuuming pretty fast, the cord will likely slip out of the cord clip. But again, that is still pretty good, and there's really not too much to say bad about that cord clip. It still does do what it's supposed to do. So, that being said, let's run this poor thing. So you can see the part on the floor where it got stuck just from the resistance from me trying to push it. And yeah, you can see it did get a little bit. I'm not really going to rag on it for not picking up too much stuff because I did run over this real quick. I did literally just vacuum with a different machine. So I'm not going to get mad at it for not picking up too much from that tiny little area. It did still get a decent amount. And, so again, it's not the worst thing in the world. It does perform okay for the price. But again, when there are other ones that perform much better for the price in the same product stack, it's really hard to justify the price on this. So honestly, what price would I be comfortable paying for this thing brand new? Considering that, again, this one's 90, this one is, 80 something. Honestly, I'd be comfortable paying 60, 65 bucks for it. Maybe 70 on a good day. If it included a dusting brush, then 70. But compared to these other two machines, with them being at the prices that they're at and the prices that I paid for them, this just feels like a disappointment. And again, you can see it's not bashing Bissell because we have a bagged Bissell and a bagless Bissell right here, very similar product stack. It's just this one leaves me very disappointed. So again, if you're shopping for one of these things, save the extra 10 bucks and buy the PowerForce Turbo Rewind Pet. And that's if you cannot stand bagged. But please, 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 bagged is better in this price range. If you can stomach having a bag, or at least trying having a bag again, the PowerLifter Bag Pet is the much better option. It really is. That PowerLifter bag, for the price, for the 82 bucks that I paid for it, is a fantastic machine for that price, especially if you fit it with HEPA bags. You fit that with HEPA bags, the filtration is great, and the fact that it's not a sealed system doesn't matter too much. This is spitting so much dust back into the air, it's not even funny. Especially if you have pets, filtration is very important because you're breathing in all that stuff that's getting spat out the vacuum. And it's also very bad for the life of your vacuum. So I'm sorry this was a little bit more of a rant than a review, per se, but that's my honest feeling about this. I remember watching performance reviews review of a machine very similar to this. Basically, again, the exact same machine, just different accessories and different color and name. And I remember thinking, there's no way that thing can be that bad. I've used so many of these other Bissells and they're great for the price. And now I understand why. Because this machine truly is not that great. And the fact this is pretty much Bissell's flagship in Walmart at this point. It's really sad. Because people are going to be buying the more expensive product expecting a better product. And the fact that these other machines are better values really makes this machine's existence disappointing. Because again, you're leaving a bad taste in people's mouths. And they're going to assume that Bissell's a bad brand because they buy this and expect it to be the best thing because it was the best thing they saw on the shelf. So yeah, it's not the worst machine in the world. I would probably take this over like a Dirt Devil Total Pet. No, not Total Pet. Dirt Devil Power Max Pet. Well, either one. I would take this over a Dirt Devil on the shelves for a similar price to this. But compared to other Bissells, compared to even Eureka, and I haven't even checked out one of those Eurekas, and I can tell I would like the Eureka Power Speed much better than this. It's really just a disappointment. Now, again, compared to these other machines, the hose reach is good. It's a wash. The cord length is a wash. All that stuff. There's just other things that are just downgrades. The build quality is a downgrade. The swivel steering's not that great. The performance is a downgrade. Just please get one of these machines instead or get something else entirely. Anyway, guys, this is Intelitech Studios signing out with my review of the Bissell PowerLifter Swivel Pet Vacuum, and the reviews on these other two will be coming soon as well, with some other machines in between, of course, to balance it out, so I'm not doing the same brand over and over again. Anyway, guys, this is Intelitech Studios. My throat honestly hurts from ranting about this thing too much, so I'm going to go drink some water. And, yeah, this machine is for sale. I'm going to try to sell it. I made the mistake of selling the box. Honestly, if I still had the receipt in the box, I would have returned this long ago. Because these I'm happy with and I don't want to return. But this one, if I was able to return this, if someone said, hey, you can return this now, can you? I would do it in a heartbeat. And I think that says everything. So again, this is coming from the perspective of someone who's been fixing vacuums for 15 years. I've used hundreds of different vacuums across many different price points. And again, there's so many home runs in Bissell's product stack as far as, maybe I shouldn't say home runs because that'll make some people angry, for the price compared to other machines on the market. Buying them not inside a vacuum, no pun intended. There's so many good machines from Bissell in that price stack. This isn't quite one of them. It's not quite a hit. So that's pretty much it as far as this review. What do you guys think about the PowerLifter Swivel Pet and similar machines like these two? And if you have a differently badged version of this, let me know what you think of it in the comments below. Again, you may like it. If you don't care about it being hard to push and the handle doesn't bother you and you like everything else about it, similar to these other machines, then it's a good buy. But if you have problems with those issues like I do, then it's not the best option. So that's my final conclusion. Get one of these two instead of this. But again, if you don't care about the issues and you really just need one now and you don't want to wait, then you could do worse. So anyway, guys, this is Intelitech Studios signing out, and I hope you guys enjoyed this review, albeit how long it was, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one. Peace.